Hi, welcome back to Block. I think I'm going to change that name. I haven't decided yet. Today we're going to go through the rules for the Alicante, Spain World Cup tournament. We're going to look at all of the specialty rules, what you can buy for inducements, and then I'm going to go through every team and talk about a roster you can take. Maybe it's not the most competitive. It's something I think is maybe interesting, might be fun to play. Or, in many cases, just pretty bad and the best I could come up with in a team that just doesn't really jive well with the skills and tiering that they've been allowed. So we'll get right into the first part, which is the team rules. And the way it works is that you have to build a squad, and I think it's mandatory. You need 6 guys. You can do any tier. Some tournaments will say, okay, you have to be, one of each tier, or you add up the numbers and it equals 7 or something like that. This doesn't have that. So everyone can be tier 1, but you can't take multiple of the same star. So 1 Morg per whole squad, 1 Griff, 1 Hackflem. You have 1.15. Actually, not a bad amount of gold. You can build a lot of good rosters with that. And then we'll get into the tiering here. I think the tiering is pretty good. If I would change something, maybe I think humans at tier 1 is too high for humans. I think Slan at tier 2 is probably too high for them. I don't mind tier 4, kind of a specialty tier. Old World Alliance can probably pull something out pretty strong in that tier. And then the Halfling Goblins and Snotlings. Snotlings can do pretty good, so maybe they could be a tier 4 team. But they also feel fine in 5. I don't have a problem with that. Other than that, it feels pretty good. I think it's pretty balanced. There is the whole thing about Wood Elves aren't performing that great. Are they really still a tier 1 team? And I think that it's fair to say they are. I think Orcs also belong in tier 1. I think Orcs are doing really well. Underworld Denizens at tier 2 feels good. The big thing to keep in mind here is you're really only gaining 1 skill from tier to tier. So tier 1 gets 6 skills if you just go main primaries. Tier 2 gets 7. Tier 3 is going to get 8. Tier 4 is going to get 9. And tier 5 is going to get 10. So the difference between a tier 1 and a tier 2 team is just 1 skill. There's no gold difference. And sometimes you're going to think to yourself, maybe 1 skill isn't worth it, and a tier 1 team is worth playing. And in this tournament, I think we're going to see a lot of tier 1 teams. I don't think we're going to see a lot of tier 3 teams outside of maybe Tomb Kings that are going to be doing okay. I think there's still a lot of people kind of infatuated with Khorne, trying to make Khorne work, but it's a pretty challenging team. Yeah, so here's the inducements we're allowed to see and take. The thing to keep in mind, though, I think the biggest issue is this bribes for 100K. Bribe and corruption obviously gets 50K. You can't take it if you have Sneaky Git anywhere in your team, including your star players. So you won't see bribes with the Black Gobbo. You won't see bribes with Borak, which breaks my heart. And you won't see bribes on dwarves trying to maximize the damage and foul potential of that Death Roller. Which I think, my theory here is that some dude in Spain was getting absolutely wrecked by a fouling Death Roller and said, no Death Roller bribes in my tournament. So something that's a little different that you have to keep in mind is that some more popular stars are going to eat into your skill allotment. That's only the most popular stars. You're going to see stuff like, Morg and Griff and Deeproot and Hackflem, things that are kind of defining the tournament scene right now. But not all of them. So there are stars that maybe aren't top tier stars that aren't so popular that you could really lean into and maybe get a little bit of an advantage out of because other people are taking maybe a more popular star and losing some of those skills. I don't love this way to balance it, especially for something like at the bottom, Wilhelm takes 1 skill, but undead teams have such a poor roster of stars available to them that it just feels like such a penalty if I want to build maybe undead or vampires that has him. And especially with vampires where I really want those skills. Creek and Bomber are annoying, the secret weapon stars, so I don't mind that. And the other ones, it's fine. We're not going to see dwarves with Griff. That's probably for the best. Morg is another thing that's going to make sure that the team's just not going to really support him very well because they're just not going to have the skills. So if you want to kind of go all your eggs in one basket, all or nothing, you can still take Morg and Griff. And teams like maybe Amazons, Norse, and Dwarves could still lean into that if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of the rosters as quickly as I can so this video isn't super long and give you my assessment. So in no particular order, I'll just get into the rosters. First up is the Elven Union. I don't think Elven Union is very competitive in this tiering system. I decided to give them a star and then build them into a passing game. I think that their blitzers are great. Their blodging sidestep. You have a couple of great catchers, and then maybe you can just lob that ball over people's heads and try to get those touchdowns. You're not going to win a bashy game or pushing and blocking. It's really just playing keep away and passing as much as you can. For Underworld Denizens, again, I wasn't sure what to do here. I decided to drop all the goblins and lean into Morgenthorg. Morgenthorg is going to be a great backbone for your team, and then you have a dedicated blitzer with your Rat Ogre. Maybe you can do some damage and remove some casualties, and then just gunk up the rest of the field. I'm sure there's other options here, but this one I think could be competitive and could win some matches. For the Dwarves, I like Dwarves with Griff. I think it's a really good roster. You don't need a lot of skills with Dwarves. If you do, you want to take a ton of guard and then block on your runner. By dropping the runner, we can free up some money, and we can get Karlov on kill, which is basically Griff's little sister. Obviously, she's not as good, but she can work as your runner. She can score. Strength 4, blodge, hard to get that ball away. And then all that guard and block is going to defend the rest of your team. For Amazons, okay, you're looking at this thinking, I messed up because I didn't spend that much money. I bought a Master Chef. You can fit in a Master Chef with Amazons. You have a huge blodging team, lots of block, lots of dodge. I really feel like if you can steal your opponent's rerolls, they're not going to be able to knock anything down. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to have turnovers. I think that this is a good way to play them if you're not going to take a star. For Imperial Nobility, I don't play them that much. I don't think that they're a great team. And the tier stuck them with like Orcs and Chaos, I think. Maybe they're a little better than some of those teams. The Black Orcs. So, yeah, I just think a ton of guard and some blodging pieces, and then put block on an Ogre. Make it more consistent. You got a couple of rerolls. That seems like a good roster. I don't know. Maybe you'll do okay with it. For the Tomb Kings, here, obviously guard on all the Guardians, block on your throwers, so you can kind of protect them a little bit. It's hard to keep up defenses with Khemri if you start losing skeletons. So I decided here to make a dedicated blitzer. I've got the Frenzy Tackle on a blitzer. He's going to really knock down stuff that's annoying, those blodging, runners and catchers. Maybe that'll work out. Plus, he can frenzy into something with guard. For the Ogres, I think I really like block where I can get it. This is the most block you can get. Couple guard. Juggernaut can be your blitzer. It's going to make him safe. So you've got your blocks on the line and then an additional block with the Juggernaut piece. I really like Sneaky Git here with all that guard. I like Diving Tackle as a safety, protect your defenses and maybe stop a runner with the ball. And then Sure Feet on the guy you want to score or throw. Old World Alliance, what a messy roster. Yeah, here I decided you could fit in Griff. Go for Griff, man. I think Mighty Blow on one Troll Slayer is a good way to remove some pieces. I like as much guard as I can get, so I've got a couple. I've got Tackle as a safety, block on my catcher, so he's blodging, and then Leader for an extra reroll. It seems safe. For the Orcs, I like lots of block, a guard on the Troll. I don't think you have to overdo guard here. I mean, obviously you might face some Dwarves that have tons of guard, but with all that Strength 4, you probably don't need a ton of it. And then one Tackle. I think that in this format, because there are a lot of skills going around, you're going to see a lot of blodging pieces, and I really prioritize Tackle on as many teams as I can. If I can get a blitzer and I go, okay, he's the guy that can go run down that ball carrier. So it's good. Okay, for Snotlings, I decided this is another place where you could fit Morg. Get Sure Feet on your ball handler, guard a couple trolls. You get the pump wagons, you got one bribe, so get the most out of them as fast as you can. That's a lot of Mighty Blow. Maybe you can put a dent in your opponent. You have 15 people as far as all of your positions, so maybe you can gunk up the field and get those riotous rookies out there to keep your opponent busy as you run around with Morg. The Wood Elves, I don't play Wood Elves. I never really did. They were always like the strongest team, and that didn't interest me. But now that they're a little weaker, I really don't know what to do with them. I think the strip ball and the tackle make a lot of sense to go be ball hawks. I think block dodge makes a lot of sense here on your catchers. And then I like leader and kick just to support them to increase your odds of successfully doing things and get the ball where you need it to go steal it. Humans, another one I think is a little weird being in tier 1. I don't really think of them as a tier 1 team. I didn't take a star because they're tier 1, and I think that this is actually a good place to get a couple guard, get a couple mighty blow, and block on your ogre. Play a pretty vanilla human team, but maybe you're going to get that consistency. They've got 4 rerolls. They have an apothecary. Really safe, kind of stable team that, might not let you down. So a little controversial here with Skaven. I put Juggernaut on the Rat Ogre. Some people prefer guard here, but I really like him to punch holes. I've got block on a couple gutter runners, guard obviously on your blitzers. I like one Skaven gutter runner having wrestle to go get the ball if I need to. And I like one to have sidestep. That's going to help you do 1-turn touchdowns if you're in a pinch. Really, there's a lot of things you can do with Skaven. I think this is just one of the many kind of safe picks. I definitely like 4 gutter runners. Vampires, I took pro on all my vamps. It just makes a lot of sense to me with how detrimental, not just failing Bloodlust and hurting somebody, but losing your move and not being able to get them across the pitch, which is a big problem. I also took dodge over block. I think dodge is going to give you more utility than block. I know it's harder to knock your opponent down, but it's going to make you harder to knock down. You're already strength 4, and you're not going to have to use pro on those dodges. You can use them on your blocks. Chaos Dwarves, I got 1 Bull Centaur with block, and I took Hack Phlegm. You already come with so much block. Your Hobgoblins are just there to get blocks thrown on them on the line of scrimmage, and they can die, no problem. I think this is a strong roster. I think you can get some touchdowns here. Do I love it at tier 1? I don't think it's great, but this is an option. Another option is just to use spam guard and don't take a star. For Dark Elves, this is, I think, the best roster you can get with Dark Elves, which is dodge, dodge, dodge to get the blodge on 3 blitzers. Again, I like tackle, take care of stuff like Griff and other blodging pieces that I think we're going to see a lot of. And then we've got block and wrestle on the Witch Elves. One's going to be kind of an offensive Witch Elf. The other one's going to be kind of a safety defensive Witch Elf. And you get 3 rerolls. I think this is a pretty solid roster. I think this one feels pretty good. For the Goblins, I decided there's another place where we can take Morg. I did guard on the Trolls and catch on a Doom Diver. Really, Morg is the best thrower in the game when it comes to right stuff and throw teammate. So maybe you can actually get some touchdowns with him. If you've got 1 turn on turn 8 on the first half, put Morg out there and just throw that Doom Diver. You've got catch to kind of help you out. Doesn't have a lot of rerolls though, which is a bummer. Halflings, I decided Deep Root fits in a little bit better than Morg here. Plus, you get the Triumvirate, you get the 3 trees. So that's pretty great. Sure Feet on your ball handlers. One is your main ball handler, the other one's a backup because they're not that hard to kill. And then guard on the other 2 trees. It doesn't feel super great. You still have your Master Chef and assistant coaches, so you should be getting some rerolls. I don't feel like this is real strong, but I'm not sure what else I'd do with them. For the Corn, I really want to take Hack Phlegm on Corn. He just fits in so perfect as your ball carrier. But here, I took 2 guard on the Bloodseekers. I don't love it. I'd like to take as much block as I can, but I think you'll get out-muscled. And your Bloodborne Marauder linemen are so fragile. I also like Strip Ball on 1 Korngor. He's going to go out and get that ball for you. He's going to be pretty good at it. And then just score with that lineman. For Lizardmen, I just took a ton of block and 1 guard. I don't know what else you could do. You could take just block on all your SARs and then leave the Croxigore naked. Or some other options. I like Frenzy on Saurus a lot. You could take another guard Saurus to be kind of your mobile guard. But you've got a lot of strength. You might not need it. There's not a lot you can do with Lizards. They're pretty vanilla most of the time with skill choices. But this feels like a good roster. For Necromantic, I think this is the best thing I could come up with. This is just blocking the werewolves, a bunch of guard. You could take guard on both flesh golems. Honestly, I might take block on both flesh golems. I like block on them a lot. It makes them much better at doing their job of being kind of a roadblock to get around. But I think we'll see a lot of guard on some teams, so I definitely went with that. And then sure hands on a ghoul. I mean, perfect. For the Norse, I took Borak the Despoiler. That's going to give you kind of a leader reroll, so you don't have to worry about the one reroll I could afford here. It's more like 1.5 or 2. The team already has so much block. I was able to get more block on those Ulfs, 2 guard on the Berserkers. The Valkyries left naked, which doesn't feel great, but you have to take 2 of them because the team is too slow without them. Those are moving 7. They don't have Drunkard. They're pretty mandatory. For Nurgle, I took some guard, some block. I don't know what to do. And then my Pestigors I kind of just made into utility pieces. One is sure hands, he can go get the ball. One is tackle, he can be your blitzer if you need to take down a blodging piece. And then one is a mobile guard. I think that this is the best way to kind of bring to bear the utility the team normally doesn't have. So you can kind of fill different roles depending on your opponent. Yeah, and 3 rolls. Doesn't feel too bad. For the Slan, I have no idea how to play Slan. I'm not great at them. This is a total guess. I like guard and a catcher. You can get the guard into a cage, and then a bunch of blitzers. Sometimes you'll see 4 catchers and 2 blitzers, but with 5 rerolls, I didn't feel so bad about taking more blitzers and less catchers and getting some extra strength. Sure hands to go retrieve the ball wherever it ends up after I do that. So hopefully you can work in tandem to accomplish something. For the undead, I'm not sure what else I'd do here. This seems like it makes the most sense to me, which is a guard tackle. You could go guard on those blitzers, but I do want to make sure that I've got skills on my ghouls, which is block, which makes them great. Wrestle on 1 as a safety to pop some balls, hopefully, and then 1 of sure hands to carry the ball. I really don't want to be burning my rerolls on ball pickups, which is a feel-bad moment for me. Up next, we've got the Black Orcs, another team I think struggles a bit. I gave him Fungus the Loon. He's going to help him kind of break through and dish out a little bit of maybe some casualties or something, help you control the pitch, because you're so slow, you got to kind of play a more plotting game. Diving tackles just to be your safety, maybe mark something. Very easy to get outmaneuvered here, but they have 3 rerolls. It feels pretty okay. No block on the team, so I leave them at home. Next, we got Chaos Chosen. Chaos Chosen also do not feel great in this format. I decided to just load up the Chaos blockers and just swing for the fences. Just throw as many blocks as you can. You've got a lot tied up in those Chaos Warriors because they're just your best pieces. And then you've got 4 rerolls. So don't worry if you're not getting POWs or if you're rolling to the double skulls. Burn those rerolls. Try to fish out as many casualties as you can. Chaos Renegades, really thought about this. I think Borak fits here. He's going to make up that extra reroll, so you end up with 2, at least in the first half. Juggernaut on the Rat Ogre feels good and consistent. Some guard on the other 2 big guys. Dodge on your Elf to be your ball carrier. Rustle on your Skaven to be your safety. And then 2 heads on the Goblin to be a pain in the butt. I mean, really, he can run out and just do whatever he wants, and he's going to be really hard to stop. That could be retrieving the ball, or it could be fouling. The High Elves, this seems like a really good team. They're tier 2, and they're not that different from Dark Elves, but when you look at how much block you need to pick up, it's not great. I put Leader on the Thrower. It's a pretty good thrower. You can play kind of a keep away game. You can play a little bashy if you want with those fast move guys to find single pieces and throw blocks if you can. And that's it. I think that's all the teams. I feel like I probably missed some. Was that it? Really? 30 seconds per team goes pretty quick. Okay, well, thank you for listening. I'm sure all these rosters are not what you're going to take, or they're not optimal. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think I should change if I'm giving bad advice out. I don't think all of these are perfect. I'm sure some of them probably need a lot of help. I'm just not that familiar with something like, I don't know, Snotlings. Maybe they need a lot more bribes. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe. I need to hit 1,000 followers or subscribers. I think I'm halfway there. And then I can monetize this. Quit my job and just be a Blood Bowl YouTuber. Thanks so much. Well, if you're going to Alicante, Spain for the World Cup, it's not till September. Save up some money, and I'll see you there, and good luck. Thank you.